Welcome to the Cook Group's podcast, What's Cooking in Litigation, with your host, Brian Wacker. In each episode, you'll meet industry leaders, innovators, and educators in litigation. We'll discuss the latest advancements, efficient practices, and strategic updates. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, cookgrouplegal.com. Now here's the host of What's Cooking in Litigation, Brian Wacker.
Hello, and welcome back to What's Cooking in Litigation. I am your host, Brian Wacker. Each week we've been breaking down some of the latest trends in litigation and talking to some of the, what we believe, sharpest minds in the field, including those folks within our own firm. This week taking a bit of a detour from that. We've been speaking to a lot of the partners and folks in our firm who've been around for a while. And this week we thought we'd make it a little more entertaining and talk to those rising stars of the next generation of work. So we've got three of our hand-picked associates two from our New York office, Shaun Van Buskirk and Nicholas Gross. Shaun and Nicholas, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And also we have from our St. Louis office here with the most beautiful view in town behind her, Kat Blake. Kat, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys are each respectively at different sort of points in your career, but still at that associate level here at the Cook Group. And so what we want to do today is get kind of an opportunity to showcase you guys a bit more, learn a bit more about you, and frankly, if we can get to it, get a bit more perspective from folks of your guys' generation on sort of where you guys are seeing the legal profession, some of the substance that you guys are working on. And if at any point you just want to complain about me or any of the other partners that you've been working for these past few months and years, just let me know and we'll go ahead and mute you and make sure that none of that comes out. So, all right. So let's start first with Shaun. Shaun, I think of the three of you guys, you have been with the firm the longest. Is that right?
Probably, yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I believe so. I've been with the firm since 2021.
Okay. And you've been in our New York office the whole time, right?
Yep.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're a legacy, right? You've got some family in the law, so being a lawyer is not completely foreign to you, but can you tell us how you kind of got to the point of wanting to be a lawyer?
Yeah. So my dad's a lawyer. He's been working with Carrie Ann since God knows when, but I started interning with McGivney and Kluger back in 2014 maybe. And just kind of, I never really thought I wanted to be a lawyer at that time. I just was taking a summer job because it was there. But, being in that law firm environment and seeing what they were doing, I was like, oh, maybe this is something I actually do want to do. And, I think that actually helped me in the long run, just being around in that environment, from a high school age. But yeah.
Right. And Nicholas, you have been with the firm, I think, for about a year now. Is that right?
No, I've been with the firm since April.
So, okay. Well, still in the calendar year.
Since, I guess, April.
Well,
so
it is a point of, it's a point of growth at this point where I just can't keep up. But yeah, can you tell us, what was your sort of journey before you got to the firm, and what is it that sort of brought you into the group back in April?
Yeah, sure. So I graduated law school in 2019, I want to say, and then I took the bar, and then what happened after that? I was admitted an attorney in February 2020, then the world shut down in March 2020. So it's kind of a weird point in the litigation, and then I kind of started off doing insurance defense litigation, was really into nooks and crannies of that, and then I would eventually switch from that to real estate law itself, which I very much enjoyed doing, and then I would switch from that to real estate litigation, and then I kind of went back into the insurance defense litigation with a mix of real estate litigation as well, but also doing transactional real estate work amongst it as well. I would just kind of say I do everything. Whatever kind of comes across my desk is what I'll do. Yeah. But yeah, it's been fun. I forget who I spoke with about the Cook Group, but they wanted to have me on board because they knew I was also admitted in the state of Connecticut. So it was kind of something else to add to the practice. And I was previously working at 29 Broadway, so it was nice. The commute wasn't bad. Go from 29 Broadway to 115 Broadway, just went 3 buildings down. So,
Yeah.
but no, I've been here since April, but I very much enjoyed it. My time here, and I love the people I work with.
All right, so Kat, that sort of segued into one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is that you sort of came into being an attorney and having been in law school during what was really the most unprecedented time that any of us can ever really imagine. My attorneys we used to complain that we had it the worst because we went to law school during the recession. You guys had it much, much worse. Can you kind of talk about what it was like being in law school during that time and kind of coming out not really knowing anything about anything?
Sure. It was very challenging for me. I think initially when they moved classes to being online instead of in person, I felt like I had a lot harder time, retaining information and learning new material in the classroom. And then it also made it difficult, I think, as far as like interviewing for summer internships, trying to get a feel for different types of firms when really the only interaction you have with somebody is via a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting. And you don't really get to see what their actual like office culture is like. And I felt that as well during one of my summer associate positions, where although the summers would be in office, a lot of the partners and younger associates were still continuing to work from home. So it made it a lot harder to kind of build up those relationships and stuff that you might get in person.
Right. Now, is that, and I know, and I'll stick with you for a minute because I just know that you and I have done our best to navigate this, but that is really a challenge for young attorneys now as well, not just in law school, but being able to get out and do a lot of the in-person work that generations of attorneys before had done. And a lot of those opportunities are tougher to find.
Yeah, I think that is something I really value about working here is that you guys do try to give me as many opportunities to be in court in person as possible. And although I've been quite nervous for many of those, I am glad to have that experience. And it's good, I think, to get out of the office and, meet some other attorneys that are working in the area and have that face to face type of interaction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do know that you're undefeated, having obtained every single judgment you went to go get. And so, but yeah, it is sort of getting dropped into the deep end. That is sort of, it's not just a ritual hazing that we like to do as older attorneys. It was really something that, you get a lot of value in that. Shaun and Nicholas, maybe Shaun first, is there still a lot of that sort of difficulty to get into court and get into live depositions up in New York City?
Yes, I mean, I just attended my first live deposition maybe 6 months ago, and I've been doing this for 4 years. It was almost a very unique opportunity, really, because it really doesn't happen that often. And I've probably only been to court a handful of times. It really is something that is still primarily remote, even here in 2025.
As so, like in my experience, it really kind of depends on the kind of case. I know in more multi-party, defense litigations, everything's via Zoom. They'll give you the option to go in, but nobody wants to do that. But I also know in other kinds of cases where they will do it virtual. Other times they'll do it virtually. What I always found funny, at least in the transactional real estate perspective, in New York, it's still pretty much it's in person now. Everybody kind of meets each other. But in Connecticut, it's all done through the mail. Just mailing stuff in mail the deed, mail it back, mail it to somebody else, and mail it to the town hall.
Yeah. Okay. So, Kat, you've had a couple chances to go into court. It sounds like Shaun and Nicholas things might be opening up a bit more, but is there anything that you've noticed, like either with your contemporaries or what you guys have been doing on your end, perhaps Nicholas first, what it is that you guys would tell a new attorney who's just coming out of law school, who's going to face those same challenges to not only juggle what it is that you've got to juggle, but also do your best to not fall within some sort of a rut or an inability to get into court?
Um, I guess the whole court aspect really depends on the cases. But if it's a new attorney, I feel like the one thing the new attorney would have to know is that they're not going to know everything right off the bat. It all comes with, age and experience at this point. I mean, I know when I first got out of law school, the courts were still technically open for a month and a half, until the world shut down when I became an attorney, but it's just really all kind of comes by doing. You just, you look at it, I've been doing this, I think, now for 5 years, and I look back at where I was 5 years ago, and I realized all I've really learned, and I've really kind of thought about it. But you really just comes with doing it, and obviously, it's always better in person. How somebody behaves in person, whether it's in court or in-person deposition, is completely different than it is over Zoom. There are certain things you can't say.
Yeah. Shaun, how about you?
I would say just ask as many questions as you can to the point where you're bothering the partners beyond belief. That's where you're going to get the experience from is, obviously by doing, but you're not getting it from textbooks. You're getting it from learning hands-on. And I mean, I learned so much, I would say in my first month here, as opposed to a year in law school, just by following partners around and asking questions about why they did things and what they were doing. And I think that's probably the best advice I would give to somebody that's coming in.
No, it's really on the job training. I've noticed.
Exactly.
I don't know what I've gained from law school half the time, other than Pinot Noir VNF and Paul's Graphy, Long Island Railroad, but don't really use those in real life nowadays.
And Kat, you have the benefit of working so close to me, like two doors down. So for anybody doesn't have that wonderful benefit, what else would you tell them other than work for Brian?
Other than that, I would definitely second Shaun's advice about asking a lot of questions and kind of add on to that. If you have the opportunity to maybe even just like shadow a partner or maybe another associate who's going to court for something, definitely ask if that's a possibility. Like just getting that experience in the courtroom and seeing how things are handled, I think is really valuable. And it's difficult to try to explain, especially if you're a new attorney and haven't been into court very much before. So it's good to have some of that like firsthand experience.
Excellent. Wow. You've been trained so well. What a great answer. No. All right. Well, we got a few minutes left, so I'm going to ask you guys a few more sort of substantive questions, and then I will get out of your hair because I know you guys all three of you, have hours you should be billing. Okay. So first question is, so at your relative points in your career at this point, what are some sort of, I don't know, mid-range goals that you guys have set out for yourself that you think are achievable, but also things that you're sort of looking forward to or wanting to see where your career can kind of go in the next little bit? I guess we'll start with the Kat.
So I guess some mid-range goals for me would be getting some more of that courtroom experience. I've had the opportunity to argue a couple of motions so far, and I'd like to continue to do that and maybe do things that are a little bit more challenging in court as well. And another thing I'm interested in pursuing for the mid-range future would be some pro bono patent prosecution work. And so I had looked into a program through the Oklahoma City University's pro bono patent program, and they're looking for volunteers to do that. And since I have my patent bar license, I'd like to volunteer in that regard as well.
Yeah, Shaun, Nicholas, I forgot to tell you, Kat is smarter than all three of us. As the patent bar admission would tell you. Shaun, Nicholas, you guys are a little further along in your careers. What would you tell me is kind of your next, where you want to be in the next few years to keep moving this along? Shaun, you go first.
I would say, just in terms of my position here at the Cook Group, I really want to start getting involved more with account handling and kind of, work up the ladder in that respect. I think, where I'm at now is kind of, I'm beginning to enter that realm of, handling accounts on my own and stuff like that. But I'd really like to, begin to take that on as a full-time thing, as kind of the next step in my career. I feel like that's kind of a gradual next step for me.
Perfect. And Nicholas, how about you?
Gary, I'm looking to handle more accounts, right? Looking to handle, more cases, a bigger workload. Like I said, I'm admitted in New York. I'm admitted in Connecticut. I think my next goal is I'm actually seeking admission into Massachusetts as well. So I'm kind of looking to help the firm grow in New England. I'm like, well, they're small states. I guess I could kind of handle all those. They're not that big. So I'm looking to go into Massachusetts and learn their law, which I have to take the test for. And then, kind of see what goes from there. Maybe go to Maine or what are the other ones. As long as it remains remote, of course. I don't want to actually.
All right. Well, great. Well, then I got the last question. This is the one to put you on the spot, all of you, because what it will really do is tell us whether or not you like being here to begin with. But if I were to ask you each right now to make the decision to go to law school again or not, what would you do? And let's start with Shaun.
I'd think twice for a second, but I think ultimately I would still do it. I think, there are some days that I would say, if you asked me that same question, I would say, don't do it. But I would say 90% of the time, absolutely, I'm happy where I'm at.
All right. How about you, Nicholas?
I think, earlier in my career, I would have said, no, I don't wish I went to law school. I wish I became a garbage truck driver instead. They seem to have fun. But no, I think now, looking back, I'm glad I made that decision. I'm happy at this point I am where at this point I'm at in my career. I love working for this firm, and, so I would say yes 90% of the time.
Perfect answer. Kat, put it on a tee for you. Knock it out of the park. What do you got?
I would definitely say yes. I've started here in November of last year, but I've really enjoyed the last, little over half a year that I've been here. And I think it's been a really great experience so far.
Well, all right. Those were easy enough, but I will tell you that I regret going to law school just about every day. So I know all three of you are lying, and we'll have to handle that off mic. All right. Well, we have hit our time, and I really want to thank all you guys. Obviously, this was a lot of fun, a little different episode than we're normally doing, but really appreciate you guys coming on, volunteering, and helping us kind of showcase the next wave of attorneys at the firm. So I'm sure that that everyone else in the firm shares my sentiment where I say we're in great hands. We've got a great future, and really impressed and really, really thankful that you guys were able to make the time.
And thanks for having us.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, on that note, that is the most recent, I guess, episode of What's Cooking in Litigation. We have a few more episodes left. We'll do another one of these roundtables. We'll be coming back with my new partner from the Philadelphia office, Lisa Stagliano, and we'll be rounding out season 1 of What's Cooking in Litigation in the next few weeks. So appreciate your time. Again, please be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, do whatever you else can to help us share this on social media. We love any feedback we can get. And until next time, we'll see you later. Thanks.
You've been tuning in to the Cook Group's podcast, What's Cookin' in Litigation, with your host, Brian Wacker. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, cookgrouplegal.com. Thank you for sharing this show with others.